Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Comic Binge. Today, we are going to talk about comic books, but not just comic books, the MCU. MCU, Holmes, MCU. So what does that mean? Today, we're going to be talking about what I think is considered to be essential MCU required reading, but not just for just Loki, but for Black Widow. But what does that mean exactly? Why is Avengers Forever? And the other thing we're going to talk about, which I didn't even announce what it was, but spoiler alert, it's Avengers Forever. If you haven't tell what this cover is, which you probably haven't if you don't know it. But today we're going to talk about Avengers Forever and another little title. We'll just get to that in a little bit. One of my favorites actually of all time. Both of these are like favorites of mine. But today we're going to talk about mainly Avengers Forever and what this means for the MCU going forward. And I am your host, Paul Herman, and I am joined by one other person had to bail. That's okay, Chris. I still love you. But I'm honored to be joined by two awesome people today. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Vile Zero, aka Chris. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm
Hi.
excited to be here.
No problem. Well, I'm excited you're here. This is exciting. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. And the legend, my homie, the Alex, aka Comic Historians Grand. Hello, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me. That's nice. What a kind introduction. That's very kind. I was prepared for two Chris's. I had that whole Spies Like Us, Chevy Chase, Doctor. It'd been Chris. You know, I was expecting.
Wow.
I practiced it, but it's all right. Hypothetically, I put it out there.
Well, you know what? You did it in spirit. Let's be real. You did it in spirit. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
True.
Yes. So today we are, like I said, we're going to talk about Avengers Forever, one of my favorite all-time Avengers stories, and why this pertains to, I think, essential reading for people who love the MCU, Marvel Studios, whatever you want to call it, whatever moniker you want to say. I think this story itself, and this story being Avengers Forever, I have the trade. Right. There it is. And I'll have other screen grabs, so don't worry. You're gonna see what it is. It's in Marvel Unlimited. I'll show you all. But this is one of my favorite stories. And I remember I read it a long time ago. Like I want to say like 10 years ago.
Did you
this
read
came
it
out like 20 years ago?
Did you read it when it first came out, Paul, or was it more like later?
No. Later, because this came out in late 2000s, or wait.
No, I think it was like 98.
Yeah, I meant late 90s.
98 to 99,
yeah. So this came out in the late 90s, and I was out by then. But I love Busiek. Or Busiek or Busiek. I butcher everyone's name.
Yeah.
You know me.
I say Busiek, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too. We could be both wrong for all we know.
I say Busiek also.
Yeah, there
thank
you
go. There you go. Sorry, he's a decides it. Chris decides it.
That's right.
That's right. So anyway, but this was, I remember when I got back in, reading comics and just devouring everything. I read this, I think, on Marvel Unlimited actually, and I loved it. And it is what I would say. If you're looking for a story, and we're going to get into a little bit of details, if you're not sold, if you're like, I don't want to read comic books, I'm going to convince you to read this comic book, damn it, because it's so good. But the reason why I think this is so good is a number of reasons, and the main reason we'll get to in a second. That's the main bad boy, if you will, the elephant, the purple elephant in the room, right? So, but the reason I love this so much. It feels like a historical document of Avengers without having to read a stupid Wikipedia page.
Right.
Would you guys agree?
It's a review,
sure.
right? A lot of it is a review of what's gone on with Kang and Immortus up to that point, and trying to put together things that are in conflict with each other into one cohesive narrative, which Busiek is good at that. He's good at rehashing and exposition and explaining. I mean, every page, if you were to pay per word on page, you're actually getting a lot better with this story. There's so many words per page.
Dude, hold on, and I'm curious, Chris. You can follow up on this really quick too in a second. But I want to piggyback off that because you touched on something. I was reading this. I'm like, man, there's more on this page than there is like in 12 pages sometimes in comic books, like alone, right? And today,
the newer ones,
yeah, and listen. I'm very much in the belief of that with art. There's no right or wrong, right? Whatever the story needs, whatever the art needs, whether it mean, and when I say art, I mean like subjectively, like everything, right? Not just artwork. I'm saying like music is art and painting is art, etc. Whatever. My point is that I'm a firm belief that for the most part you shouldn't have rules, right? There shouldn't be you have to have more panels on a page. I don't believe that crap. Like you should, if the story needs, four panels a page and that's the way it works out. It's the way it works out. But the one thing I will say is that when I say diversity of this book, there's so much in the story that is not just again fluff. It's like, again, you got up a great point. Busiak, whatever. He brings in so much dialogue and brings so much just like weight to whatever you're reading. Yeah. It just you get information. Like you're learning as about the Marvel universe as you read this. There's one page in particular.
He did his research, right? Clearly, when he wrote this.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that too.
Every King appearance and every Immortus appearance. All right, and then he literally writes it all. But actually, it's not just detail of the words; it's detail of the illustrations too. There's so many panels and figures per page. Pacheco did like this crazy, amazing, highly detailed, that go with the highly detailed number of words. It's everything is so specific and numerous, and there's some where there's like 100 characters in a page, and you're like, okay, how did they do that? But they do it.
Yeah, Chris, what's your take? Did you as someone, you had really no clue about the story. I know, Alex, you have read it before, so you had a little bit of idea going into it, but you had no idea. Did you get were you going into it expecting like a kind of a fluff piece, or were you kind of surprised at what we're kind of talking about a little bit?
No, so going into a Marvel kind of event kind of book, especially when it's like a 12-issue series, right. You're going to get something that's meaty. It's not going to be a lot of just crap on the page. It's going to be sometimes a lot. And there definitely were times where I was like, whew, because I'm a Marvel guy, but I'm not like necessarily, I don't know like all the nuance of every little bit of history in the story. And so there were definitely times where I was like, man, this is dense. This is like Earth X level dense, Earth X. It's still really good. But there were just times where I was like, do I need to take a break here and like jump on Wikipedia real quick and kind of like familiarize myself a little bit on a base level and then kind of keep going? But accessible but dense.
Did you now here's my question though, did you learn a lot about the Avengers, way more than you did before? Like, did you now feel like you know them even better as far as the 616 universe goes?
Yes.
That's what I want to hear. because again, I'm not. You're crazy. I'm not. We're gonna try to touch away some spoilers as much as possible because I want people to read the books, man. I really do, because I'm a firm believer in giving people these comics to read, and I want you all to read it. I mean, there's plenty in this book we could talk about without spoiling it. Honestly, there's so much.
I mean, one of the main concepts is grabbing Avengers from different time periods and assembling them, and then you kind of get like a bit of like the 70s, little bit of 80s, little 90s, little 60s going on. So you get like a mix, and even like future,
right?
Yeah, where she was like, and that makes sense because Busiek wrote Thunderbolts that she was in.
Oh yeah,
so
it made sense, right?
In the Busiek verse, that makes sense to put her in there. I mean, because he's continuing off his own stuff, which he should. I mean, he writes a lot,
right?
But yeah, it made sense to kind of throw her in there. It was actually kind of interesting too. He really understood like the difference between Kang and Immortus. Like that difference. I mean, the old comics, they show it, but he really like laid it out there and made it very clear. Kang uses future tech to wage war on on more primitive tech worlds, and he's in the battle with his guns blazing. Whereas like an evil futuristic Nick Fury, Whereas
I like that. Yeah.
Whereas Immortus is like he's like literally bringing like Paul Bunyan back from the past to fight for him, right? And then he brings like a million Paul Bunyans into the room to do it all for him. So that's his deal. So they have really different one's more aggressive and direct. The other one's like more manipulative. One
Right.
thing I liked was Kang using the word. What did he said? That passive aggressive academic. Like he said that about Immortus. He's like, I'll never be a sniveling academic like him. And I was like, wow, these are just funny words that they're using. You know?
I know. Well, and plus they're the same person.
Yeah,
it's like Kang is
like
so
it's
determined.
Like he hates. Yeah, he's determined never to be that way.
Yeah. So really quick, I want before we jump to Kang and Immortus, because to me this is the meat of the story, in my opinion. This is why you want to read the story, because we're all, really quickly about the Avengers team to give you a kind of an idea what the story is about. To me, it brings in Rick Jones. If you don't know who Rick Jones is, you get caught up on him fast in the series. I'm a Rick Jones fan. Love Rick Jones. Always have. Always will. Where is he in the 616? Anyway, or 616 MCU, whatever it is. Love Rick Jones. He's a central part of the story. Basically, a bunch of Avengers, like what Alex said, get brought in from different timelines. And one of the things I want to talk about, Songbird. I love Songbird. I don't think she's been an Avenger as yet, but I think that should change soon because she's a great character. They need to put her in the MCU. Again, fantastic character, a fantastic, strong female character. I love her. I grew up. I read a ton of Thunderbolts comics the last few months ago. Nizieza's follow-up to Buzik's Thunderbolts, and it was pretty solid. And Songbird was so good in it. And Ellis's too. I mean, I loved Ellis's Thunderbolts afterwards, but I don't tell anybody. But yeah, I did love Nizieza. Nizieza. I always
Nizieza, Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian. But Songbird is great. She needs to be an Avenger. She's such a great character, underutilized right now. Marvel, get to it. And then one of the things I want to talk about, Yellow Jacket. And for people who don't know the Marvel 616 universe, Yellow Jacket and Giant Man might be a little weird. A little bit weird, maybe, but
and actually he's using a very controversial era of Yellow Jacket too. This is like the wife. This is the Yellow Jacket. That Busiek put in the story, which is interesting because that Yellow Jacket is somewhat despised.
For
big time.
Yeah, for the correct reasons.
Yeah, for the correct reason, right? But so there are some in the other Captain Marvel character, which I think he's kind of in. I think he's in Thunderbolts that I read he got
Genesville.
Yeah, it's so.
Yeah, because he had his own comic after that for a little bit.
He had like 3, didn't he? I get
like Rick Jones and him were vibing with each other in those.
I
never got into that though.
Yeah. I got into. I have never read, or I get him and the Marvel Boy now. That's in Ewing's. Ewing's. What's it called? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get that Marvel Boy mixed up with. I get them all mixed up. It's so that gets really confusing.
Yeah.
But
the one Marvels and they're like basically Marvel's kids, right? And they and there's like
with this Hulkling now
timelines and.
Alternate timelines. Okay, that's what it is. It's a variant. Now they can call them variants.
I think they're like variants or something. Yeah.
So the one thing I want to ask you about, I'll throw it to Chris here first. Chris, what was your take on Captain America? Because it was a very inspired choice to have that specific Captain America, and I don't want to dive too much into it, but it's not the same. It's not the same Steve Rogers you think it is because of the timeline that he came out of. And I remember because that's pre-Nomad. It was right before he became Nomad.
That's right.
And so it was, and for those who don't know, go read the comics, and we'll talk about them here in a second, but it was a very inspired choice. And I thought it was beautiful how Busiek and Stern, I think Stern helped them write it too, or helped them plot it. I don't know, but they did a great job. And I thought it was a brilliant choice to bring that specific Captain America, because you can't have an Avengers team without Captain America. You just can't. So,
but it was a great way to use him without having him be his typical role. Like he's not the leader of this Avengers group like a Captain America typically is, right? I mean, he's always the leader. The Avengers assemble. So having him kind of in that, not take a step back, but having him in that role where he's kind of for the reader as well as for him, I think it's an unusual position to put him in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Actually, I forgot.
Oh, I was going to say
But-
one of the other things
No.
that I'm really interested to do now that I've read this is to go revisit JLA Avengers
Mm.
because the
yeah.
same team did those books as well, and I haven't read them since I was a kid, but I really want to see how Captain America comes across in those.
Yeah, in
now that I've read
comparison.
these. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
spoiler
Busiek
alert.
has a good
I love
run in the Avengers comics too. At that during
Yes.
this time, and you really get a good sense of how he writes all these different characters. Yeah,
I have that run, like the actual floppies.
Yeah.
I by the way, I hate saying floppies, but I've been converted. I've been freaking converted, and I hate it. But I do
You
say floppies.
huh? Wow. I mean,
I say
they
flop-
are
I know,
floppy, I guess.
I know, but Alex, they're not floppies.
Interesting. Back
But
issue.
they are.
I thought. Back
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I
Yeah.
have the initial. I have like the single issues of that run.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like,
right,
over the
right,
first,
right.
like 30 issues. I need to read it. I've been meaning to read it for a long time.
No,
But
no,
I
they're
just- I have
great. I
not.
mean, you know what
yeah.
happened in the '90s is from like '92 to '98. It was that Rob Liefeld era of Extreme Comics, and the layout.
Oh, I remember.
Especially like when Will Sportacio was doing X-Men, and the layouts get kind of like it gets kind of just wacky. Like even Herb Trimp was trying to emulate these guys, and the layouts were just insane and really hard to follow. And a lot of people, looking back, find that stuff hard to read. And so in '98, when that stops, that's really when Busiek is like returning to a more traditional comic book storytelling. And so this was almost like Avengers Forever to me almost felt like, okay, so we're sorry about what happened for the past 6 years.
Oh man! Oh
We're
come
gonna
on!
do this, and we're gonna restore faith that we still know how to tell stories. So, and he did. I mean, it became much more traditional. Like if you look at that stuff, and then what he did with
Right.
Avengers, compared to like those like 12 issues of Avengers Volume 2 or whatever that come right before, where Kang is actually in some of those. It's almost like is this even the same company? But it is, and really from '98 and forward, I think Busiek helped set a pace of how they want to tell stories and kind of something a little more cohesive, I think, and less about the swimsuit competitions kind of things.
Right. And the thing is with the Avengers, before that, yes, they were marred in like all this ridiculousness, and they were number 5 to all the 100 X titles in Spider-Man comics, and no one cared about the Avengers. I mean, I like the lineups those Avengers teams had, but they just lacked like solid writing, unfortunately. And then Busiek
are you talking about '92 to '98, that era?
Yeah, like I love Black Knight.
I love it. I love it all the way up to like '96, actually. But then from there's something about those 2 or 3 years. It's hard to read. I read them, but like The Crossing, I still can't follow it even now,
dude. Okay, so that's one thing I want to talk about on this. So for people, I say this is going to be a documented, like this comic book is a historical document, and you'll learn so much. It retcons actually a ton of, especially Iron Man from the mid '90s.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not sure if you caught up on that, Chris. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story, but Tony Stark was like the bad guy, and then they had to bring young Tony Stark in,
the teenager, and then he gets
all that. Oh god, they retcon this. They explained it's Immortus that was manipulating that whole thing or whatever. I was like, whoa, like they're actually they use Avengers Forever to basically give all that backstory a little bit more meaning, and we'll get to a little more of that here in a second. So we're going to talk about
what I mean. It was almost like
an apology, what Alex was saying.
What they just did.
Yeah.
An apology for all the crap.
but I wouldn't say it's an apology, but it's almost like let's fix it up. Let's kind of like tidy it up a little bit. Right. That's what I kind of. You could say it's an apology, and it probably is. But
I mean, I don't know. I don't think Busiek wasn't responsible for that, but I think he really wanted to clean up what happened for sure.
Yeah, no, he did, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. Obviously,
no, he
did. So this is what I'm excited about because Alex, my friend here, Chris, has never read a Kang or Immortus comic book. So and that's not be like, how dare you? Like I'm just saying it because what I'm excited about is to see, because he's kind of a test thing. So I think this is essential reading for anyone who, and I want to, before I even get to Chris, hold that thought for 1 second. I'm curious what you both think about Loki and what was your take on, the ending. Again, you hadn't seen Loki, spoilers, et cetera, But what was your take on Loki, and how excited are you guys for like Kang and Chris? I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, I loved Loki. I thought Loki was awesome, and I haven't read a comic with Kang, but I'm very aware of who he is. He was actually, this is going to sound really stupid, but he was the villain in Lego Marvel Superheroes 2.
No, yeah.
Played the hell out of that game.
Gotcha.
So they and the game obviously it's for kids, but it shows him both. There's like a humorous side to him and also like a menacing side to him as well.
Right.
So getting a chance to see, his variant in Loki at the end, right? So it's kind of him, but it's not him. And getting a chance to see kind of that first, you almost get like a first impression of who this guy could be. I'm really more than anything, I'm like really curious, excited. I love the actor. And I love the choice of him to be Kang. I think he's going to be awesome. But especially after seeing the variant in Loki and it just completely not being what I expected, I'm very curious to see how they play it. I love when my expectations are completely, subverted. And this is
how the real Kang would be in comparison to how that guy was.
Absolutely. Are they even is even gonna have his blue face? Even the little things.
I think he will. It's gonna be a shield. I think.
Right.
It's gonna be some kind of shield thing. Yeah. Because the helmet, you gotta have the helmet. I mean, come on, these are costume supervillains, man. Come on.
But he's also the actor. He is he's a classically trained clown. So he has this when he jumps on the desk in the episode, that was all ad-libbed. He just did it and they just ran with it. So he has a really wicked sense of humor that he can display. And I think that's kind of important for Kang, especially within the MCU, right? There's always that they always play things up to a comedic level. Sometimes maybe a little too far, but I think that I think that's important, and I think that he's gonna bring that in. He's gonna be able to capture that. I think
that's awesome, Alex. Man, I know me and you were going crazy over classic Loki. So which by the way, I don't know if you saw my comment because I always comment to your stuff. So you're probably like, oh, Paul's all commenting again. I better mute him again. Whatever.
No.
I know. I hope not. No, but I commented because you said that you didn't know if it was that version of classic Loki was more Buscema or Kirby.
Yeah,
and I was like, I in my opinion, and I'm not saying I know Buscema super well, but I would assume that most of it seems like old school Kirby, with the exception of the cape. And I'm just curious if you would agree with that or not.
Well, I think that's what they were going for costume wise. I think the actor's face though, just to me looks like a Buscema face, like the way he draws faces. Yeah. But the costume was for sure like the Kirby 60s era. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's just the actor's face looks like a Buscema drawing to me.
That's actually, that's fair. I'll concede. I concede just for you.
The costume was for sure Kirby. I mean, they were going for Kirby. That was the intent.
Right. And
the way Buscema draws faces, it just looked like that to me.
And before I ask you about the Loki, I just want to say also, for the record, how amazing that looked. Even though it was supposed to be cheesy, I thought it looked amazing. Like I legit thought it looked great.
They did that with Power Man for like a minute. He had the classic outfit.
Yeah, he kind of looked cool.
Yeah, and it looked cool. And then in Captain America, when he was acting, for the war bonds or whatever, and he had that classic outfit on for that scene.
Yeah, it's fun.
They'll do that in these movies, like throw it in there for a second, and that's kind of nice. They do stuff like that because we all kind of want that. And then when we get it, we're like, it's probably better, but we're glad we got it. But we're glad now we're actually more glad it's the other way. But they give it enough.
Well, I don't know. Right.
It's just giving a little fan service, yeah.
But I like classic. I legitimately no bullcrap. I legitimately like classic Loki's costume. Like I'm no irony, no irony at all.
Yeah,
I think it looks awesome.
How it would be, and you like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What didn't you? Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I liked it in that it was what they drew back then, and I like that.
All right.
Would space gods, would space Vikings wear that? I don't know.
I think so. All right. What'd you think of Loki? Tell me what you thought.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. I like, Marvel Cosmic anyway. That's my preference.
That's your bag. Yeah.
And when it comes to the movies or the TV shows, that also means good utilization of a green screen. It's basically green screen everywhere. Whereas Black Widow or Falcon Winter Soldier, those are not green screen movies. Those are like street level. Like you actually go to a place and film stuff at a place. I actually like the whole green screen approach. The Loki I loved a lot. And then the whole, Immortus, He Who Remains fusion character at the end, and the multiverse and the timelines. There are just some things that don't seem quite consistent. Is that when that happened, when Captain America goes back to hang out with Peggy, I thought that was an alternate timeline, and yet alternate timelines
agreed
exist yet. Or did this happen before he did that? You see what I mean? Like, so that's the thing is, did Captain America go back after this timelines were made? Is that where we're supposed to set this mentally? If that's the case, fine. It's just things like that quite don't. And then why were the Avengers supposed to go back and do all that stuff? Remember, Ravonna throws that line in there. Well, they were supposed to do that, so that's fine. It's like, okay, all right.
But I do think we're going to get an explanation. And one thing on the MC fan show that we talked about, and Sean actually, I thought brought up a great point. It's not so much like you can't stop the parallel universes that are on top of each other. And they even show it in that episode, the last episode, right? How there's all these different universes stacked on each other. It's the diverging of the offshoots of them. Kind of like, again, like like for instance, when Cap went back, he's going on parallel stacked on universes, not necessarily going in a completely different direction where it's a totally different thing, kind of like how What If's going to show us. They have a different, like where Star-Lord is, oh my God, what's his name?
Black Panther.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's not that. I think that's what King was trying to stop, because if you think about it, if it's just kind of just a little bit different on top of each other, it's a lot easier to keep that contained to when if all these other things are going out, who knows what's going to happen, right? And again, I will say that is inconsistent, but when he explained it like that, I was like, okay, I can kind of see that, because they do talk about how there's universes on top of universes, and what the TVA was doing was pruning the outside of the things that are going outside this major timeline, which it could be a timeline on top of a timeline on top of a timeline. So again, it could be a stretch or reach, but that is something they have to, I think, eventually address. And I think that will. I think there's going to be some kind of explanation, whether or not it's good or not.
I think probably Quantumania and the What If series will address some questions, I'm sure.
Right.
As far as the end of Loki, I liked it. As far as the comic is a little different in that He Who Remains is actually a different guy than Immortus. Like, they're not actually
right.
And that,
but I like the change though. I personally liked it.
It makes better sense. I think in the comic it's a more convoluted history because you have so many writers adding to the storyline of the timeline. But evidently it's like the last surviving member of the TVA is He Who Remains, and then that gave birth to the Timekeepers, who are actually real beings, and then Immortus later works for them.
Right.
In this is like really making it make more sense the way they're approaching it. I think.
Well, if you think about it too.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but I think the logic of the pruning still maintains the same. Immortus was really doing what the Timekeepers wanted in the comics, to prune things, ultimately to create something where they're still okay themselves. It's a very selfish motivation, and it's the same thing. I'm in a way with Immortus, or He Who Remains in the MCU. He's doing that because he doesn't want there to be other Kangs or other himself to compete against. He just wants it to be him, and I think in a way he's rationalizing universal peace as a way to like really just make him the top cheese in a way. But yeah, so I think I have a certain cynical approach, concept of what he was actually doing that whole time. But at the same time, maybe a council of Kangs, and them all killing each other off, maybe that could destroy the multiverse. I'm not sure. In the comics, that's never happened. In the comics, the multiverse gets along okay. So we'll see. Yeah.
Chris, you want to follow up on that at all?
Well, no, it's just interesting that you bring up the Council of Kangs, because going into it, I was always under the impression that Kang was he was just Kang. There wasn't like a bunch of different Kangs.
He was Vigo.
So the Council of Kangs is all brand new to me. And then in the Loki, it's one of the things he says, right? He's like, if you kill me, like, it's not just, that I'm going to wage war on you. It's that like every version of me is going to come wage war on you.
Mhm.
So I'm like, after reading Avengers Forever, I'm like, okay, I could see this.
Yeah.
I could see an aspect of this in the movies.
So bringing up Avengers Forever. So if you're wondering again, like you want to get deep into this Marvel stuff, which I forgot that the Timekeepers were even in Avengers Forever. To be honest, I'm like, oh crap! I knew Immortus and Kang were like the primary focus. I forgot the Timekeepers are in it. I forgot the He Who Remains is in it, and the origins of those characters. So if you're wondering, if you want to be hip to all the people who are like, I heard you read comics or whatever, you want to read Avengers Forever, because not only is it a historical document, but you got all the Timekeeper stuff. You got He Who Remains. Yeah. And I think it was a very inspired choice, to be honest, that the fact that He Who Remains is turned into a Kang variant. I thought it was pretty inspired, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. It was also a way to prune that up a bit.
Yeah, right. But check this out.
And also introduce us to the character, sort of.
Right, of Kang, right, yeah. So check this out. It also, what's funny is that He Who Remains still creates the Timekeepers in the comic book. He also, in both versions, he still creates them, but there's different beings, if you will, than in each medium or whatever. So again, I like both. I like both ideas about that, which was really cool. I thought, again, it almost felt like they were reading Avengers Forever and taking ideas, because there's more than just Loki that they kind of take from, and I'm like, and I'll get to that here,
because what Avengers Forever does is it takes every piece of that time Immortus King mythos that's ever been done before that, and reviews it for you in there, right?
Yeah. So check this out. So let's go deep on Immortus and Kang for a second, because there are literally 2 issues, 1 issue each, that are completely devoted to explaining each character. And if you just want to skip, which don't skip. It's good. But if you just want to skip, and if you're one of those people who wants to read a Wikipedia page or watch a YouTube video of someone make money off, someone else's company or whatever, you know who I'm talking about. I ain't gonna try to hide behind it. I know I'm gonna call all you guys out. Don't spoil crap for money. That's not cool. Anyway, but what I am gonna say, if you want to just read like the Cliff Notes version of this comic book, don't skip out. Read this one first. This is Avengers Forever issue 8. This is Immortus, baby. Now this comic blew my mind. Okay, Alex, I apologize. You're getting covered up mostly.
No, that's fine.
So
I like the dynamic of this.
Thank you. I appreciate your honesty.
Maybe I'm Immortus. Is that what you're saying? No, I'm just.
You know what? You are Immortus of comic book YouTube. Yes. All right. Anyway, but this is an amazing comic book because I love comics. I definitely will. I don't want to brag, but I definitely feel I have a decent amount of comic book / Marvel knowledge.
Yeah.
But even I don't know everything about Immortus, and this was a great thing for me to read just about the character and learn about the character, and it was great. Now there's some key things in here, guys. I want to touch on. I even wrote notes down for this. This is how important it was. I wrote goddamn notes. Okay, check this out. Immortus brings something up, and it talks about how he helped, and it's very key on here. Look who the 2 characters are on here. Human Torch, which most non-616 people are going to understand what that means. But the Vision, I forgot the Vision was the remains or the android version of Human Torch from back in the day in World War II.
They go back and forth on that.
Yeah. Which they talk about in this comic book, which does get confusing.
Yeah.
But
I like I like how in that Hank Pym was like, wait, I said he was, and another day I said he didn't. Did I really do that? It's like, well, 2 different writers were writing that, but right. He's like questioning his own sanity.
Right. So here's the beauty of it. The beauty of this is there's one key moment, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Immortus talks about manipulating Wanda and Vision. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Because they talk about the Nexus. She's a Nexus being.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Now, I know the Nexus thing was already introduced in the mid-90s, and they're kind of building up to that. But I find it interesting that a major character like Immortus, which I'm assuming he's coming eventually in the MCU, and is also tied to helping manipulate Vision and Wanda. And again, I won't say why. There's a reason why he helps manipulate them get together, which I think, honestly, and this is no BS, I think this could have big implications on the MCU. I really do. Curious what again, without spoiling it, guys, what's your take on that? I'm curious. Do you think that this...
Yeah, I think it is funny that Immortus was like the reverend at their at their wedding. To me, that's just hilarious.
I forgot about that.
Not only am I the master of time, but I'm also an ordained minister. I can, for $50, I'll marry you guys right here. I mean, that was hilarious. I was like, look, I want my reverend to dress like that. Well, actually, soon he's gone. I'm married, but I should have had my reverend dressed like that, like Immortus for our wedding. But at any rate, I thought it was interesting, right? Because there's some hints, but he wanted them together. Evidently to prevent, because if Wanda has kids, basically, then that those kids can form a threat to him and the Timekeepers. So here, bang an android instead, so that you can't. But crazy Wanda, she has kids anyway, and
I know.
And so then that becomes that things didn't go as expected. With that plan, but anyway, and the two boys are going to be in Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange. So can he that would be interesting. Well,
Probably,
because they were in WandaVision, and those
because they're trapped. Their souls. Their
souls are still there. It's just, and remember at the end she hears, as she's in the Darkhold, you can hear their voice.
Them crying.
So they're I think they're going to be in that, but the thing is, will the MCU tie Immortus into that in some way? I'm not sure. I don't know how that would work. I
see your point,
but it is interesting how that is part of this story, and Wanda and Vision are clearly important part of the next step. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and before you go, Chris, here, I wanted to say about that is that it makes sense because she's so powerful, and they go out of their way in WandaVision to explain how powerful she is. Again, they're going the whole Nexus event, the fact that Immortus, so the fact that Immortus is a big part of manipulating that whole thing, which I think there's lots of great themes there. Like, what is fate? Like right now, in Loki it's very much kind of the basis of the show, right? The themes of what is destiny and is there, are you only good for one thing, or are you only destined for one thing? Can you change who you really are, truly are? Mm-hmm. I think this could even, if Mortis is definitely behind Wanda and Vision's marriage and being together in some weird way, it kind of dives into that idea that you don't really have free will. What does that mean? And like, really, that doesn't mean anything. You love what you love, but you know what I'm saying? But like, I do love the idea of Immortus basically intervening, being like, Wanda can't have biological children because if she does, they're going to be insane and going to destroy everything, which is cool because she's, again, a Nexus being, which you talk about in WandaVision. So there's lots and lots of cool stuff that they introduced in this issue alone, which was crazy to me. So yeah, there again, lots of crazy stuff, lots of more to stuff. Chris, did you want to add anything on that, man?
Yeah. So one of the things you were bringing up about Immortus and Wanda, and I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk, and I'm like, my only problem with having them kind of bring in Immortus in like an MCU way, and then say like maybe he's behind some of this, is that it takes away some of the agency of the characters, and it makes them. It makes it feel a little more like they don't have control over their own destiny or anything. But one thing I saw today, I don't know if you guys saw, and maybe it's coincidental. It could certainly be. But somebody side by side ran the last episode of WandaVision alongside the last episode of Loki, and Loki when He Who Remains basically says, "We've crossed the point. Now I don't know what's going to happen." Right when that happens in WandaVision, that's when she gets the crown. She becomes Scarlet Witch, and she's blasting all the energy out.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And so, there's a part of me that goes, maybe it's a coincidence, but there's another part, having read this now, where I'm like, is it?
Dang, dude, that's tight.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That's rad. But I understand what you're saying. Like, the whole idea they don't have control. And let's be real, they have the same problem in the comics, right? With this is the same issue, right? It's who has control? But I think that's the theme, right? When you think you don't have control, you really do. And Immortus doesn't. He just was lucky it worked. That's the way I interpret it. Is that they were always meant to be together. Not because Immortus willed it, but because they were meant to be. Like, that's just true love. And I think there is going to be something out there. Like, let's be real. I mean, I'm going to blow Alex's mind here. What if Eternity shows up and is like, no, like, this is like, you know what I mean? Like, what if he shows up and is like, no, like, this is like meant to be. Like, at the very end of phase 4, when like Loki and Kang think they're going to win or whatever. And he's like, no, this is all meant to happen.
Eternity's the like someone that trumps everything else, huh?
Everything. It's a trump card. Like, it's like not evil or good. It's just like, no, like, this is, and that'd be the one way to define, like, no, this was destined, and this is because someone helps manipulate it. Doesn't mean it wasn't meant to be, because of the beauty that what it gave us, and that's the thing about just because people might have evil intentions of something, there could be still good out of it, and that's where I feel that there's great themes there. Again, I'm a big theme guy. I love themes, and I love connecting to art, whether it be like a kid's show or because anyone can connect to something. It doesn't matter what medium or what it's for, what audience it's for. It's a matter if you just connect to it, right? And I love connecting to themes, and I think there's deep stuff there that Marvel could do, and they've already done a great job with these TV series. And not as much. No, excuse me. I would say Falcon Winter Soldier 2, not as deep, I would say, as the other shows, but I still say great storytelling and thematic ideas in all the major MCU shows that we've gotten this year that I love. WandaVision is being the biggest. That is brilliant, minus the last finale.
That was a good way to start that whole run of shows. Was WandaVision
so good? That was incredible.
One thing I noticed that they do in this Avengers Forever is there are two ways that they can almost retcon anything. Is one that it was a Kang variant or Immortus variant doing it, and not the Prime one. And the second one was when he would die, he had this mental transferring device that would then transport his mind into a new body. So it's like doing that, the deaths are meaningless, and whoever does it, who knows? And there's so much. I find that almost it's a bit chaotic, actually. Like, there's really it reduces some of the consequence of the Kang character, where you could literally he could show up here right now delivering me a pizza, and it's like, wait, is that it's another one? Which one is that? I don't know.
Kang delivers me a pizza.
What happened to
pizza for the future, dude?
Yeah, dude. Harder for that Kang.
That's an entrepreneur right there.
That's an entrepreneur. It's an Uber driver in my universe.
It's an Uber cross time.
No, it's just you can just say, that's what I mean is with variants and with mind transferring devices. Who knows? Anything could happen.
No, exactly. And that to me is where I just feel that there's a lot of potential with the shows with Avengers Forever. And, to also kind of talk about this issue, number 9, this to me is if the bread and butter, I think. If you want to read one comic and just learn about all of Kang, this is it. Like, this is, you don't need to read a Wikipedia page. Don't watch those YouTube channels about, let me tell you about Kang. No, don't do it. Just read this comic. Just read this one. I'm serious. Stop doing that. Like, just read, for God's sakes. The comics are too good. Yeah. Alex, you know this. Chris, you know this. Comics are too good to have someone else explain it to you. Yeah. I'm sorry. It is.
And they explain it poorly.
Does a really good job of explaining who Kang is. Yeah. They
brilliant job.
I will say it does leave out a couple things.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay, good.
We'll get to that. Because you're the historian. You're the fact checker. Because I'm always going to defer to you and bow to you because your knowledge. You trump mine. And
I read it. I did go back and reread every Kang.
I saw
appearance.
I saw.
I read every single one just so I know what I'm getting myself into again. And they did gloss. It's a great review though. It's just
is
like Ravana is not really a factor in this at all.
Yes, that is one thing I did notice. It seemed like she was downplayed quite a bit.
That's right.
And that's Renslayer. Renslayer,
Like
if you don't know who
someone
that
like
is.
Grunwald would actually build Ravonna up even more than she was before. Like Ravonna, even Simonson built up Ravonna, and then Stern did. So, but Grunwald really made her her own person, and that was backtracked here, I thought.
Yeah, that's a good point. But like we all said, this is a great overview of the character.
It is.
I think it's phenomenal. So if you want to know
the best overview you'll get in one comic,
or a TV show, or Wikipedia page, or YouTube channel trying to monetize it for money, like whatever. Like this is don't watch it, just read it, have fun with it, because it's bonkers, it's crazy, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a great comic. And one thing, because we're gonna get into ideas here, and I'm gonna grab a couple things here while Chris does that. So I'm gonna disappear. So carry the show for like 2 minutes, guys. But Chris, go ahead, go first, and I'll take it off, Alex, so we can actually be visible for everyone. Anyway, but yes, tell us what you thought of this issue. How was it as far as your knowledge of Kang? Because you said you came in pretty clean. What would you think after reading that issue?
I mean, it's definitely something you can follow. For me, it does come off, like I said before, it's definitely one of the more denser issues.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. But it's not your typical, like, here's a 22-page issue where you've got some story progressing in fights and things like that.
Like a real plot of an action story. Right. It was like a history of this guy.
It really was.
Yeah, it's A to Z. It's A to Z.
It is. And there were definitely some things like I didn't know that he showed up in like the Fantastic Four as the mummy villain.
Yeah. Ramatut.
Yeah. Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, that's actually technically his first appearance in the Marvel Universe is as Ramatut.
Oh,
okay.
It gets worse. We're gonna get into that in a second. But anyway, continue. But yeah. I think Alex knows where I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna have a little rant. But continue, Chris. Sorry.
No, I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's like a circuitous. Kang's life is so circuitous in how it ends up, and there's like Ramatut, then there is Kang, then there is it's Ramatut, then there's Scarlet Centurion, then it's Kang,
God.
Then it's Ramatut again, and then it's Immortus. So it's like a weird. Everyone gets it's not an easy thing, but that issue does as good of a job as any comic will ever get to laying it all out.
And you get the baller artwork to go with it.
Oh, dude, dude, by the way, where is Pacheco working now in comics? Because where is that guy? His work is so good. It's so good.
It was an amazing illustration. I don't know, for some reason, for a lot of years, I thought that I must have conflated it with the Busiek Perez Avengers.
Perez, comic. Yeah. Well, it makes sense, yeah.
But no, it was Pacheco. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. It's a far cry from what was going on shortly before it at Marvel.
This is a great example. Look how much dialogue is on here that you guys were saying, and look how much. And again, sorry, I'm covering your face here, Alex. Okay. But I just want to see your beautiful face. But this right here is a great example of great layouts. And I know I get criticized a lot for saying I won't shut up about layouts, but I'm sorry. Comics, you can be a kind of an average artist, but you'd be an awesome storyteller. Yeah. This is a great example. This is dynamic as hell. Mm-hmm. Like where is this stuff? And look how much dialogue is coming on here. Yeah. This is comic books, man. Like this is the medium. And this is not like obviously Watchmen. This is not Dark Knight Returns. This is not enter whatever mega artsy, whatever thing you want to do. That's medium groundbreaking. This is the medium that I love so much. This is exactly what I love about comic books. It's telling me a story. I don't have to read the dialogue to know what's going on. The dialogue just enhances the story. And that's all Pacheco.
The dialogue is dense, though. I mean, it's all the whole thing.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great.
And verbally, it's very dense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot exactly. I mean, every shard of Tempest. I mean, it's all.
Oh God, yeah. And by the way, that's another good thing to touch on for a quick second. we're getting henchmen. Tempest is going to be probably in the MCU, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had Alioth in it, right? That smoke thing at the end of time. In the comics, he's in the beginning of time, but the way they keep him from swallowing all of the timescape, this was in it was after Citizen Kang. It was Terminatrix, I think, where it was more of a Ravonna story. But yeah, they have the Council of Kings combine energy, and then Tempest, who's made out of fragments of Limbo, to like then hold off and fight Alioth. And Tempest and Alioth are like at odds, and now everything is saved. But so it's weird, like what's Alioth doing while Tempest is, doing this.
I love it.
But
it's so complicated. I love it.
It's actually very complicated. I mean, it is.
I love it. I love it. So if you want to get really crazy, and I'm gonna go on a little bit rant here. Now, Alex, I know you said they didn't have everything. They did touch on it. They touched on one panel, touched on this on that comic book issue 9 that I was like, is the Nathaniel Richards thing. And everyone, it's so funny because when I was doing a podcast with Sean, he was like, "Oh yeah, he's Nathaniel Richards." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, it's not." He's like, "Yeah, it is." I'm like, "No, it's not." Because I, like a good Fantastic Four comic book reader, I have read the 90s, damn it. That is not Kang. So I started doing some digging. I just kind of assumed, I'm like, okay, there's probably some weird convoluted reason because I know that issue where it's revealed that is Nathaniel Richards or whatever is Kang, whatever.
Yeah.
I did some more research and I'm like, no, there's some weird loopy thing. And that one panel in Avengers Forever does talk about how there's rumors of him being a descendant of Nathaniel Richards or Dr. Doom.
Yes.
And so I was doing some more research. I do my own research, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. My own comic book historian research. I was doing some research and I forgot that the Cantwell series, Kang and Doom were like on a train together, which is actually pretty rad. I love that series. People hate Cantwell right now because of Captain America comic, which maybe is rightfully so. I don't know, but I love his Doom series. I don't care. I'll fight anyone on that one. I think that's a great series. But there's a line where this is only a couple years ago. Doom goes, "I heard that you're Reed Richards' father," and he goes, "I've heard that rumor too, but I look nothing like him." I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. So it's not that he is Nathaniel Richards; it's that he just descended from him, right? That's what.
Well, that's his name, according to Marvel Wiki, is Nathaniel Richards. So this is what I figured out.
The name of Kang, you're saying.
Right. So here's what I think it is if he is truly his name is Nathaniel Richards. I still am like, I think it's one of those things where it's a variant and it's not the 616 universe, because the 616 universe is the same guy that went back and got Franklin and did the Fantastic Force thing and that whole shenanigans in the 90s with the Falco and Paul Ryan. So that and there's no touch of Kang in that whatsoever. So I'm just saying, we're getting into the weeds here, but I'm just saying that's Nathaniel Richards. And that's in the Wikipedia, that's 616 Nathaniel Richards. So I'm like, okay, and that's not Kang. So they're separate beings. So either he is a descendant of Nathaniel Richards, or he is a variant that's not even related to any kind of Reed Richards or whatever. So that's what I take it as. He is not Reed Richards' dad. So don't believe the YouTube videos. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Kang isn't Reed Richards' dad. Yeah, because even back in his Ramatut appearance, he's even like, "Oh yeah, there was, I was brought up in a world, in a earth of peace in the 30th century, and I despised it, and I wanted to go back to the world of the pharaohs, and I found Dr. Doom's time machine, turned it into a sphinx, and goes back in time, and then when he goes back to the future, he ends up, as far as Kang, he ends up as he overshoots." And it's up in the 40th century where it's a bunch of barbarians who don't know how to use all that tech, almost like He-Man or something, and like the original He-Man. And then he ends up manipulating all the barbarians, and then learns their tech, and then conquers them, and then brings that tech back to the. So it's really like it's not really genuine. I wouldn't say any writer trying to say that it's Nathaniel. I think just they're kind of doing it for dramatic effect.
Do you know who it was who said it was Nathaniel Richards?
Who?
Do you know?
No.
Byrne.
John Byrne?
Yeah, it was Byrne.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
what I
John
mean.
Byrne.
Is like I like John Byrne's, art, and I like a lot.
I
of
love John. I
stories.
love John Byrne.
And his Fantastic Four runs like amazing, honestly. Like
it's incredible.
Really brought
It's incredible.
enough of that original like Kirby stuff back, but then he does his own like 80s thing to it, and it is great. But I would say that he's a big science fiction fan himself. Like he watched the old Star Trek. He did like a lot of Star Trek comics actually, but he did this thing in Generations where there's a lot of Star Trek comics he did actually, but where he did this thing in the Generations where he gets in his own head, he does this sci-fi time loop stuff, and then he likes to make this like weird punchline to it that's really short and really quick, and it just ends it fast. I almost kind of feel like Nathaniel Richards is an extension of him, almost getting too sci-fi with it and trying to be ironic, and it's just like let's just give that a rest,
That's dude, you summed it up perfectly. That actually explains everything with Nathaniel Richards, because by doing that, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of cool, like the last page that he does it on, but it's also like it doesn't really make any sense. So
no, yeah, and yeah, I wouldn't say that some of his. I would say he's an excellent writer, comic artist. Like not anyone can do that, to do both, but and to do it for so long and be so successful. And he's made millions, well deserved from his abilities. But I would say that some of those narrative choices he makes for like a science fiction punchline, I don't think it works. And I think that's one of those examples.
All right, so wrapping up, and I know we're gonna run a little bit long. And I'm just a little bit. I'm trying to wrap it up for you, Alex. Here, I have a couple. I'm having a blast, by the way. This is awesome.
Yeah,
I can do this all day. We do it all day. At one time, we talked for like 5 hours. No, but one thing that I just want to get you guys' take on, and we're going to talk about a little bit of the other story, a little bit, and a couple other things I want to show you guys too. Avengers Forever. Would you recommend it for anyone who is? Do you think it's required reading for an MCU? You could be saying you can disagree with me or not. I think it is. I'm curious what you guys think.
Phase 4 for sure.
Like okay. That's what I mean. Yeah, in a vacuum, in a Phase 4 vacuum. Okay.
Yeah, in a Phase 4 vacuum, this would be. I'm sure the writers went through this, and for I think they minded. So I would say yes.
Chris,
I would say yes for Phase 4, but it might not be the first comic that I give somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the first comic a person should read either. Like,
no. I agree. If you do,
dude, this is too much. It's like reading a term paper.
It really is. That's actually the best term paper of all time, in my opinion. So, yeah. Okay, so before we get into a couple things, I want to show you guys, and you guys mean everyone in the audience, a whole like 2 people. Whatever, I don't care. Citizen Kang. This is for you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the Renslayer, like where Grunwald was doing what you were saying, like he kind of made her a more essential character to the mythos of Kang.
Yeah,
correct.
Yes, and actually, the first 2, it's 4 issues, 4 annuals originally, but Roy Thomas wrote the first 2, right?
Did he? Well, let me find out for you, Mr. Historian.
Yeah, and then Grunwald wrote the next 2, I think.
Well, hold on now. I think you actually might have. No, wait, hold on. It actually might be Roy Thomas, actually. No, it's Thomas and Grunwald.
Yeah.
That's who it is. They wrote it together.
Yeah, I think from when I read it, like that the actual of the script of the first 2 was Thomas, and the script of the last 2 was Grunwald. But they read really differently. They actually don't feel like they're part of the same. Although the overall plot is, but the dialogue is like really so different. Like in the Roy Thomas ones, when you have what I think what was the first? It was Captain America, and he's meeting Gilgamesh, but he's like saying like the most esoteric historical vignettes in it, like right. With Thor, he's like, well, the Franks weren't here till the 14th century. Like, come on, Eric Masterson doesn't know that stuff,
Eric Masterson.
But it was, you could tell it was Roy Thomas, and then you could tell that was Grunwald over there. But I'm
gonna say it right. I'm not the biggest Roy Thomas fan.
Oh, really?
As writing.
Yeah. I mean, I love his.
I
love, he expanded the MCU. So What If was all Roy Thomas. But
no,
yeah,
no, I got you.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, you know, when I was reading Spider-Man, chronologically, you know, he took over for Stan Lee, and it was like, whoa, this is different. Like Stan Lee is a much better writer than, and then he would admit that probably too. But and then he left, and I was like, good God. And then Conway came on, and I was like, holy crap, this is like night and day different. As again, like it went right back up to Stan Lee level when Conway jumped on. It was so good. And I was like, man. And then Len Wein came on and went, I was like, ugh. So it sucks because I know Len Wein is good.
Conway is that he tends to like kill everybody.
That's good. Let's get some diversity in here. Let's get, you know, no. Anyway, but this is a storyline you can read. Citizen Kang. It's kind of it's the art is really wonky in this at times. I'll be honest.
It's like that '90s stuff. Yeah. But you know, have you read the sequel to that?
The one where Aeloth, whatever his name is in with War Machine and
it's about Ravonna. It continues off. It's her story after that,
right?
Yeah. And it's
all Grunwald. So it's Grunwald's amazing. Grunwald, is one thing I discovered in the last couple of years is that Grunwald is a legend. Like I've always thought he was a legend, but I mean, like no. People need to like get slapped around and realize how much of a legend that dude was. He's so amazing.
He loved Marvel big time. He loved it.
Yeah.
Like when Marvel died, he died with it. Is what happened.
It sucks. Yeah, which rest in peace, sir. He's a great dude. Now this I'm about to show you. You're gonna agree, Alex, and now Chris. I know you love to buy books. You're going to want to get this. And I'm being serious, people. We'll eventually review it for MCU required reading, but it's not the time yet because Under Siege by Roger Stern. Now, this has not only Kang, the Conqueror versus Immortus and the Council of Kangs in this epic that you can get right now. Big, nice, thick epic. Also has Masters of Evil, Baron Zemo attacking the Avengers, which is one of my favorite.
Story,
Great story. Roger Stern, baby. John Buscema.
Did that just come out?
It came out last year. It's
last year.
Yeah. Well, right. What this came out? I think I consider that it just came out. This is incredible. If you like, seriously, buy this. You will not regret it. If you like the Avengers, you will love this. Captain Marvel's in it. Thor, Captain America, Black Knight, who's also going to be in Eternals. Again, Baron Zemo is he's come on, dude. This is essential reading. It's so good. It's so good. So anyway, wrapping up, and guys, thank you so much for. It's been I'm having a blast. I can do this all night. Last thing we're gonna loosely talk about. I kind of told Alex I want to touch on it. Is I talk about what to read after Loki, right? Yeah. Now, it's weird because the thing I'm gonna suggest, which Alex, you already know what it is. What I'm going to suggest to read, which I think is this is crucially essential reading, in my opinion, for MCU, is a story that also ties into not only the Black Widow, but Loki and Kang as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about to get mind blown. We're going to talk about Young Avengers. Young Avengers. Now, this is one of my all-time favorite stories, and I'm no BS. This is when I got back into comic books, this comic series that I bought, it blew my mind how good it was. And it made use of Kang way better than I anticipated. And I'm not going to don't reveal what it is yet. I tried again. Alex, Chris, stop it. Don't say it because it's a bit there is a giant spoiler in this, but Kang's involved. And it's amazing, but there's also a character. Chung's art is it's so freaking good.
Yeah, I love. I did a little quick 3-minute interview with him at Comic-Con. It's on my YouTube channel, but I kind of consider him like a modern John Byrne in a way. Like he's able to do a team book and make it look beautiful, almost like in a modern way that John Byrne did in like the 80s. I love his stuff,
dude. I wish he was a regular artist. I wish he could be on time because he's so good. This story is essential reading because not only do you get a great Kang story and you get more Kang for your buck, this is the introduction of Kate Bishop. This is where Kate Bishop is first introduced, and all this is tied into, like, you could see, and honestly, like, Heinberg does a phenomenal job of writing. I love her. I fell in love with Kate Bishop from the series. I don't always love what Fraction does with her in the Hawkeye series. I know it's kind of sacrilegious. Everyone loves Fraction's run on Hawkeye, and it's good. I think it's good, but
I haven't read it.
Bishop, towards the end, it gets a little bit all over the place. And I'm like, okay, obviously Fraction didn't know what he was doing after like issue 12. He was like, oh, I was going to throw him around, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but I'm out of here. But Avengers, Young Avengers is a great thing to get to know Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye series that's coming out, and get to know Kang some more, which I think there is a crucial thing in this as well, what they could be doing, because I think the Young Avengers will be coming to the MCU. And I think if they include a character that's in Young Avengers that is tied to Kang, holy crap, I'll straight up like squeal and do a backflip, because I love this story to death. So good.
Kate Bishop's going to be in the new Hawkeye show too, right? That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. So
right. And then the two kids are Wanda's kids. They're there, and then Isaiah Bradley's nephews was in America Winter Soldier. It's possible.
Yeah, he's right front and center. Yeah. So, and also another character we're going to discuss is also tied in a reason that could be into the MCU. So, Young Avengers is one of the best modern comics in the last 20 years by far. I don't think it's without question. Himberg knocks it out of the park, and his love of comic books, also the first, I think, major, at least from a first openly and like, I think, Marvel gay relationship is in this between Hulkman and Wiccan, and it's awesome. It is very naturally done. It's people, complain about things being forced. In my opinion, this was a beautiful story about two people falling in love. I bought into it. Yeah, it's very, very organic, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And so I can't recommend this enough. Now, if you're wondering, well, how do I buy these? You can buy them online, all that stuff. But if you have digital comics, or if you have Marvel Unlimited, let me show you. It looks like this. This is Avengers Forever, okay? All 12 issues right there. That's how you read it, 1 through 12. Pretty easy, but just in case you need a visual, representation, I need it because I'm a visual person. There it is. And then here's your Young Avengers. Okay. 2000. Hold on a second. Let me go back. Okay. Here we go. 2005, 2006. Now, again, this is when I got back into comics. This is literally when I got back into comics. I have the hardcover of this and I love it. I've read it like hundreds of times. So good. So that, to me, I think Avengers Forever and Young Avengers, you read those stories back to back, you will pretty much be on par with, I'd say, 80% of people who read Kang comics.
Right.
Straight up. Like, you're going to have,
because you get a good review on the other one. The Young Avengers,
everything.
When I first read that, I really enjoyed it also. I had a very similar feeling in the 90s when I read New Warriors, like those first 25 issues, especially with Mark Bagley and Fabian Nicieza. That run, it was really fresh in the 90s. That's how Young Avengers felt when it came out. It felt really fresh and interesting, and I found each subsequent issue really interesting. Very rarely does something capture my attention and give me that feeling, but those two did in their different times.
Yeah, it sucks that Young Avengers never, I think, after, because it was almost like a season kind of a series, because it never went into an ongoing. It was like kind of 12 issues and kind of disappeared.
Right.
And because Himberg obviously
reached closure with Scarlet Witch. I forgot what that was called.
The Children's Crusade.
Yeah.
That led into AVX.
Yes, right.
Which wasn't bad. AVX was bad, but Children's Crusade was good. I thought that was a good kind of.
Yeah, that was with Chung's art also, so it felt like it was a continued.
For the most part, yeah. For the most part, it was mostly his art.
Mostly, yeah. But
funny.
I liked all that, and then it just seemed to kind of go away after that.
Yeah, I think because Himberg and because Himberg's a Hollywood person, so he's doing his own thing, and Chung is not reliable for a 12-issue series, unfortunately. But yeah, it's bummer they haven't been able to replicate that stuff. But yeah, that original 12 issues is some of the best Marvel comics in the last 20 years. It's so good.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's great. But and again, it's not like it's like awesome because it's a cutting edge and all. It's a true blue Avengers comic. It's like it goes deep in the weeds, man. And I love it. So anyway, guys, this has been awesome. I could talk This has been great. First of all, Chris, thank you for jumping on. Both your wives, thank you so much for jumping on, and tell them thank you for letting
Chris
me borrow
has
you
two
guys
wives?
for a while.
That's cool, man.
Dude.
No, I couldn't handle more.
I don't think many could, to be honest. I don't think many could. No, but no, thanks, man. This has been awesome. Tell us where we can people find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Vile0, and the name's in the parentheses right there.
That's good marketing. I should think about that sometime as being better marketing. And Chris will be. I said he'd be back last time. We'll be back again. We'll get you on. We got some stuff in the works at some point. We'll get you. We'll talk some more comics.
Awesome.
And obviously, Mr. Alex, there's not really much I can really say for you, sir. You're kind of like. You're like the living legend over here. I mean, you're like the living YouTube, living YouTube legend. You're living. Here, yeah. No, this has been great. I keep trying to basically I think I try to convince Alex to jump on my show every week. Well, we gotta do this, man. We gotta do this, and he's like, okay. And he's kind of like,
I could tell this one you had something urgent about this one, so I wanted to be there for you.
No, thank you. And I do want to do the Fool Killer at some point. I think that is definitely something we got to do at some point. But
you were asking about what's the end mean. Think of it like
you're calling me out. You're calling me out.
Think of it like Grand Theft Auto, like you just went on a spree and you got 5 stars above your head, and the whole town's after you. And how do you get out of that? That's basically what's going on in Fool Killer.
Well, what I need to do is get you and this Chris, and then our other Chris, because it's such a political, not political, or it's satire, it's political, obviously too.
It's satire, yeah.
Satire, and it's really well written. I was blown away how good it was.
Yeah, I'm blown.
Cool. I did. I'm a little confused. I was a little confused. I'm kind of dumb, but I once I talked to you, I went, okay, I get it now. I get it. But
yeah.
But no,
it's just having 5 stars in GTA. It's not complicated.
I don't know. I think it complicates me. So anyway, where can people find you at, man? Tell everyone where they can follow you and all your ventures.
Yeah, the Comic Book Historians YouTube channel, and then also Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So
you're everywhere, man. Every time I look around, I'm like, oh, where my Facebook stuff. I'm in a bunch of groups now. You've invited me to that. I see Alex posted in this, Alex posted in that. I'm like, damn, dude, Alex is asleep.
Well, yeah,
I love it.
But joke posts I put in Field of Comics, that group. I put anything
they're good.
If I write a little punchline on something that I think is funny, I'll put it in Field of Comments. That's my friend Bill Field group, and he was in the podcast with me in its beginnings, and so he has a great. We always joke around, and so his group is good too. People who are interested in a comics group that there's a lot of joking around. That'd be Field of Comics on Facebook.
It is a lot of fun. The one I think were you the one who posted? I'm not sure. You probably found it. Maybe you made it. I don't know. But the one about the Falcon Winter Soldier, where he's like, what was Baron Zemo talking about? Was it Kang? What was it? Batman. Baron Zemo.
Oh yeah. Batman with I didn't make that, but I did post it. And it was that a cosplayer as Batman and actual Batman, they have the same superpowers. And then Falcon says he's out of line, but he's right. But at the same time, it's not really true, because one of Batman's superpowers is his billions of dollars and the technology that he uses to maim people that don't get to have those. So
oh god. I thought it was brilliant. I need to steal that myself. I think I will. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. You can also follow the Comic Binge on Twitter, Binge Comic. The Comic Binge is also on TikTok. I try to do more TikToks, but it's hard because I'm too old and I don't. It's just I get too caught up with things.
Man, I love them.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I try to have fun with them.
You do. You look like you have fun with them.
I do.
You're doing one of them? Kids and stuff on TikTok. Those are fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I did the one where I thought, because my daughter is obsessed with going up steps. When she sees steps, the first thing she goes for is, I gotta go up them. So every time I see her just run for the steps, I always think of that line from Ghostbusters where he says, "Hey, where do these stairs go?" And then he goes, "Go up." So that's literally my daughter being like, "Hey, where do these stairs go?" They go up, and then she's like, "Oh!" And then it's literally my daughter. It's so funny. But yeah, it's so follow that on there. Instagram on the I think it's the _ comic binge. I try to get it all cohesive, but I was too late. I was lazy. I don't know. But anyway, follow us there. Subscribe here. I never say subscribe at the beginning because I'm stupid, but whatever. I just do
it actually took me forever to start doing that. I don't know why.
I'm dumb.
It's not natural, right? You just want to do
it is. Yeah, exactly. I'm just doing punk rock dudes, do my thing, it's whatever.
Having fun.
Exactly. So anyway, but if you do want to support the channel, please please subscribe and all that stuff. So you get to that sweet comic book.
Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the bell for notifications.
But when you do this, you have all these fancy stuff when you do it, Alex. I don't have that. So, I don't have the post prowess that you do, sir. So, but your editing is very good. Your editing is very, very good. But I don't edit. I refuse to edit. It's very obvious because I just blab all day. So, anyway, everyone, thanks so much for coming on. Follow all these people. They're awesome. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on. And as always, read more comics, guys. See ya later.